loved about both of these players, Nalguidan and Rami, is just the work ethic, right? You know, you hear time and time again, you know, players say, "Oh, I put in the practice," and you know, a lot of them just didn't pay off. But I doubt any of them are putting in as much time as Nalguidan and Rami. And obviously, you know, some players may say that's unfair because they also have like this content creation to balance. Which is all good and well for them, but the thing that I've liked the most about Nalguidan, Rami, Fled is that they're putting in the work, and that's all they're doing. They're all in on competitive play, which I think should be rewarded, right? And that kind of work ethic, I think, is what's gotten them to this point in the finals. Same practice group, same country. It's just very cool to see. Nalguidan starts with Fauna Power. He's on the play. So a lot of benefit to starting with Fauna Power instead of going for like the full mulligan for like Deck of Lunacy or Incanter's Flow. Doesn't hit it. Still some draws though. Nalguidan has like, wait, it just cheers their, what is it, mate? Is that the team?
Or juice.
Argentinian team.
Don't,
they both drink it every week.
Yeah, I just hope it's not so cold that it gives them a brain freeze. Wow, how did I do
Now
that?
that's the kind of casting that I want to see in the grand finals, Dan. That's what I like. Yeah.
All right, well. Go into turn 2 here. Looks like he picks up the lab partner just to keep his options open. Cheap spell damage for that cram session. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Oh, gonna kill the lab partner right now. There's not too many things that can take it down. I don't believe anything.
Yeah, it's like there's nothing that can take it down. Yeah, it will stick, which gives the upside of cram session for Nalguidan next turn. And at this point, I do feel like he needs to just acquire as much resources as possible over the next few turns. Ooh, devolving missiles as well. Ooh, okay. Still no discounts, and sometimes you do need the discounts versus Rush Warrior unless they have a pretty slow start. Now the decision is whether or not 2 devolving missiles. Obviously, you know, you're getting rid of the Dark Moon Riders, which could be a big deal, but it could also be pretty inconsequential in the matchup because you're not really fighting for board that hard as the mage. It's just that damage from the Dark Moon Riders can add up. If you have a conditioning that's paired alongside of it, all of a sudden they become very threatening minions. So I think Nalguidan's going to go through the thought process, but I think this is a pretty easy choice on devolving missiles. Oh, the man crick!
Manliest man crick comes out, top deck on 3. Nalguidan's spell damage lives on though, giving the Ruined Orb some additional power. Finds Incanter's Flow.
There it is.
Trade in. Very big outcome off that Discoverer, and now you can see the wins in Rami's face.
Well played. They cannot stop my
Finds an imprisoned Gnarg. Has to float the remainder of his mana. The matchup could already have started turning into being significantly mage favored. Flame Strike is not the most important pickup. Let's see what the keyword in Ivory.
Okay. Coerce? Problem is you're only going to get 1. Actually, no. This will actually stick, most likely. Rami doesn't play Tent Trasher, which means that there's not really anything that can just answer this straight up. And the Coerce is actually a very huge amount of tempo. Ooh, refreshing Spring Water. It's got to count cards, though, because we'll get the Spell Burst effect from the Keyword in Ivory, but there's plenty of hand space to be at exactly 10 cards. Oh, they're in Canter's Flow.
Man, it's got to be the other Canter's Flow. I think from Nalguidan's end, side, he probably is going to end with Coerce, but he can draw more cards with the refreshing Spring Water. least one additional mana. Is there a more efficient play than just a Coerce? There are going to be plenty of minions that he could use Coerce on. We go for the Ring Toss instead. Immediately choose your entity. Oasis Ally, very good combination.
This is some good stuff. This is some really good stuff.
Yeah, it's not even necessarily about the fact that Mirror Entity could get a good minion. It just makes Rami's turn less efficient, right? Like it makes him feel like he can't just plop down a 5-drop Overlord Runthok or the Stonewall Anchorman and be happy with that result.
Yeah.
He sees that the Mirror Entity's copied, and then the Oasis Ally comes on the other side. This is very smart sequencing here from Nalguidan, or rather layering, because the sequence doesn't matter here. Wow. For 3 mana, Nalguidan has gotten a pair of 3/6 minions with annoying effects that Rami has
Wow. Yep. And may have to just trade into the Water Elemental. Obviously, there's 2 minions that Rami knows about that are in the hand, but is the run deck that big of a deal? Because if Rami's going to get frozen almost certainly next turn, and then if he has to attack into the Water Elemental as well with one of these expensive rush minions, then that's again tempo that he's giving up. So I think he has to just get it out of the way now, so that way next turn he can actually gain tempo and know that the tempo is going to stick, because there's not this Water Elemental on board that's freezing the minions. So I like the choice, but Nalguidan, I think, should be able to pull ahead here. We'll be able to have the board is starting to pick up a lot of that cheap burn. It looked quite rough at the start, but it's getting a whole lot better.
Grindor eliminates the Gennard, finds a Snap Freeze to hold that minion in place for 1 turn. Fond of Power finds more minions, and now Nalguidan can get a 5-minion buff, which would rival that of the Rush Warrior. He can even play the Worm Reaver right afterwards, although no way to activate its Spell Burst. Still,
Works against me.
tempo is tempo. Also, finding cards like Sage is pretty relevant if he ends up having to trade a bunch of his resources, because now that he's played 2 Incanter's Flow, card draw is really powerful in his deck. Rami's problems continue to compound onto themselves, finally getting the ability to utilize the conditioning potentially here. Pretty big one to use
conditioning
it on.
then can develop a 3 and a 2, so Playmaker bumper cars, I suppose. Is there a different way you can sequence it? Could you go Playmaker bumper cars, then conditioning? The problem with the conditioning right now is that it's not answering the board state, which is a little bit too threatening to just kind of leave up as is, especially the Worm Reaver.
What now?
This is very difficult. And this is just the board. He's behind on board against Spell Mage. Like, that's usually you're just trying to build up a big enough board so that they can't reach you with burn. Now you're just killing them with minions.
True. I mean, it's kind of hard to ignore the fact that 11 damage is represented with more upside off the Worm Reaver. He just goes for the Stonewall Anchorman. Nalguidan's on a draw to win. He's got 7 on board,
Yep.
Fireball in hand, a Pexus Blast would finish the game. What's important is that he doesn't let things get out of control, though. He could go for burn, but then if the board stays out of control, he might end up setting himself up where he needs to hit the exact card he's looking for, or risk dying. Star Scryer, I mean, that's a 2-mana 5/3. That's so strong.
He could go for some type of middle ground play where he doesn't even throw the Fireball at the face, but instead goes either like coerce, or flame strike. And then pushes to 4, still developing minions, still making it awkward for Rami to clear. He's on clear duty again, which maybe opens up more opportunity for Nalguidan next turn to like spend more of his mana drawing cards instead of answering whatever Rami's going to be trying to do himself.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense actually that he wants to use Flame Strike because Coerce can deal with the tall minions like an Alexstrasza or a Troublemaker. It can't really deal, Flame Strike can't really deal with those minions the same way. Rami has the double Playmakers that we're talking about. If he plays 2 Playmakers and the bumper cards, what does that board state even look like?
For this.
Looking for Rakara.
Yeah, I mean, this will be a way for Rami to clear the board. It's just, has the life total been lowered too much for him to have a chance? It does have like defensive Alexstrasza, because this should be at least a decently sized board to try and push for next turn. It is, weirdly enough, if Nalguidan just ignored the board, a 2-turn lethal setup.
He's on a draw to win, though.
A Fireball, 2 Apexis Blast still in the deck. Ton of burn left in the deck.
And ways to go for it. Fireball first, draw 2 cards. Very high chance to be able to hit it this turn with the 2 Arcane Intellects. Mask of Cthulhu isn't guaranteed. I mean, it's certainly possible for Mask of Cthulhu to end the game. Is there any other lines here? Maybe just eliminating 2 threats?
Like Coerce and Rakara. Well, the problem is now a defensive Alexstrasza could come out, and then Nalguidan's kind of back to square one.
Yeah, and almost a awkward turn of events. Nalguidan has hand issues because his minions have been clogging things up. Again, Arcane Intellect for 2 cards. Hopefully the next card is going to do it. Ram session for the Fireball. He found it! The Madman has done it again! Whoa! Unstoppable Spell Mage play has concluded.
You can't beat it!
Run this season with Nalguidan at 32-11. What a series of plays from Nalguidan to close it out, because Rami was just 1 turn away from swinging it back in his favor. What an electric way to start off the series, TJ.
Yeah, you can't beat Nalguidan's Spellmade. Doesn't happen. Doesn't matter what kind of start he has, you ain't beating it. Nalguidan knew, right? Like, he could have played a little bit more conservatively that turn, right? Not like dug aggressively. He could have like cleaned up the board with like Coerce and you know, played another minion or gone for what was it? Did he have Ring Toss at the end? No, but played with the like a Cold Conjure, something along those lines. He did have Ring Toss, but instead he's like, you know what? Nobody beats my Spell Mage. Fireball face. I have 3 cards out of 11 that are just straight up burn that are gonna kill you. All right, didn't draw them. Now I have 3 cards out of 8 that are straight up burn that are gonna kill you. Okay, I didn't draw it. Now I have 2 cards out of 6 that kill you, and I drew it. And I like the recognition too, because if Alexstrasza comes out in any capacity at the end there, Nalguidan will have a tough job finishing the game, because while he had removal, it was like this incremental removal that he wasn't furthering his own game plan. So I do think he needed to aggressively draw for that at the end after seeing the outcome of Rami's previous turn. So Nalguidan does it again.
He does it again. He can't do it for the rest of the season, right? That could be the last time we see Spell Mage in its current iteration. And Nalguidan closes with just an insane win rate. I mean, as much as people might say, like, is this just the best Spell Mage play in the world? I mean, we have one piece of evidence to point towards. Either way, what a great ending to game number 1 that's now led to us in game number 2 setup. Nalguidan turned to his Rush Warrior. We'll see if Rami stays or moves. Fun fact, as I was looking up some Argentinian history to see if there was any fun ways we can apply some stuff, because, you know, we bring up history facts of North America quite often here, but not much of South America. Apparently there was a battle called the Battle of Salta, TJ, in the 1800s, which I think is just so appropriate in, you know, Hearthstone setting, the Battle of Salta. It was so long ago, I don't actually know anything beyond that. It happened in 1810. But not
just know that it
from this
happened.
date. it happened in May 22nd. So next year, this day in history fact is going to be the Battle of Salta, teacher. I'm going to remind you again in about 300 days and change.
That is smack dab in the middle of the GM season, so I'll hold you to it. I'll hold you to it. Salta.
Battle of Salta. Well, you know, all jokes aside there, I mean, just the way that Nalguidan can stay composed, I think, has also shown some of his experience in that situation. I do think that part of it felt like he was backed into it, right? In hindsight, maybe holding on to that Flame Strike would have been a little better than just using a Coerce, perhaps.
Yeah.
Because dealing with that board would have given him additional outs. So I get it, right? It's a more expensive spell. Flame Strike has less application if he's curving into big minions. It's just funny how he put himself in a situation where he needs a hit. But you also think about it, people look at those moments and say it's luck. But you also have to think about these independent events chaining successfully, right? It's the same way as people look at Bomb Warrior outcomes, where it's like, well, every single draw that you get is like a rolling percentage of one whole series of events.
Yeah.
So I think Nalguidan recognized that and played to it, which was just brilliant. And that's the kind of stuff that, you know, a lot of top players always want to show off. And when it doesn't pay off, it looks so silly. But when it does work, you look like a genius.
When it hits, right? Yeah, that was a cool game. And this tension, right? That the players are taking their time picking their decks, right? They're allotted 5 minutes between each game to pick what their next deck is going to be. And I think in the Grand Finals, not enough players use that time, right? Just to try and keep themselves composed, reset, take it one game at a time, that type of thing. But now, obviously, Nalguidan just getting the Spell Mage win out of the way. It was going to happen no matter what the first time he queued it, so might as well just do it in game one. Now we get the traditional Rush Warrior Mirror. And Nalguidan, a shake of the head, which leads me to believe that he's not too happy with his mulligan. He's also not on coin, and that is a fire hand from Rami being on the coin. The only thing he's missing is a conditioning. He's got the Imprisoned Gnark to open things up.
All right, starting off with the Overlord Runthok. And is coming together with that Imprisoned Gnark.
Oh, okay.
It's a little bit later than Rami, but not the end of the world. The armor count here isn't nearly as impactful as having a board state to go off of. Rami finds Parade Leader. Now, Parade Leader, while it could be a great 2-mana play to start getting tempo against other matchups, in this matchup, it's actually so much of the key to win back the board, especially when you pair it with Bumper Card and Dark Moon Riders. So Rami's already setting up for explosive turns. He did a great job of that earlier today. He's been doing a great job all weekend long whenever we've been seeing him play the Rush Warrior.
Yeah, absolutely. And since these two are practice partners, obviously they've come to the same conclusions with the deck and how it's supposed to be played, especially when in regards to the mirror matchup. So probably going to be seeing some similar trends. Nalguidan is going to be able to get this Overlord Runthak down here. I assume, obviously there's some wiggle room, but I just don't think there's really anything else to be said except for, yeah, just play the Runthak. It's very good. Gets full value in the hand with 5 minions. A lot of important targets buffed.
Is this a turn for Rami to start using the Parade Leader to win back, or does he just go for an Overlord Runthok turn himself? I really like the Runthok from this position. It's already been buffed. And now it's going to continue to buff a handful of Dark Moon Riders. This is already starting to make Nalguidan uncomfortable. You can kind of see it. Not happy.
Oh, okay.
Right. That's
so
bad.
Rami has a lot of slightly big things, right? He's got a lot of slightly buffed small minions. Whereas Nalguidan can have
What now?
a little bit of very well buffed minions. And sometimes it can be hard to tell which one wins because the resources could dwindle for Rami considerably with just one build of a board for Nalguidan. And conditioning is better than the run back in this situation, and Nalguidan's going to be able to get multiple rounds of the Dark Moon Riders to try and fight against it.
I like it. I like it. Instead of using any kind of conditioning immediately, waiting for the ability to go over the top of Rami's +1 buff by having a +2/+2 buff.
Yeah. Another playmaker to go alongside with it. And if you look at it in that context, both hands are actually quite similar. They both have the Overlord Sourfang. They both have a pretty much equal quantity of Dark Moon Riders once this this bumper cars ends up dying. Rami's turn is pretty limited in the fact that he either has to go in with the Riders now in the Parade Leader, or just play a Stonewall Anchorman and leave one of these higher priority targets on the board. Ooh, Blademaster Samuro with the conditioning. That's actually pretty big because that's like the ultimate turn this game around kind of card. But how does he go about this turn? These Dark Moon Riders are going to be 3/3s, which doesn't necessarily line up super well on the board. Could go with the Crab Rider, which would be a 4/7, I believe, with the conditioning, which would clear off both of these minions.
Looks good to me.
Yep.
The Wind Fury being really big. Oh, he's going to use a Samuro here? Oh, because he has Overlord Sarfong?
Yes. It's not the best because, you know, obviously it doesn't come back with its buffs intact. So it just deals a 1 damage AoE immediately upon summon. So it's like a 2 damage AoE immediately upon summon.
Yeah, that seems like very aggressive use of Blademaster Samuro. That's often one of the last cards that comes out of the warrior hand when you have, you know, all these options to respond to two minion boards. And he uses the Samuro there. I'll have to see if it ends up paying off for him, but for now, Nalguidan has the ability to seize back the board through big stats. Now, the thing is, right, is that there's also an additional layer to the Samuro, which is you have Samuro that's buffed. What if your opponent has Samuro that's buffed? And so if Nalguidan does this playmaker and the Dark Moon Rider setup, he doesn't have like a definitive way to swing that board back, and Rami could and then get really far ahead. And as we've seen many times in this matchup, a player that can start getting ahead at this stage of the game tends to be the one that's ending the game, or at least driving the tempo to end the game.
Here for a good time.
Though the Blademaster Samuro at this stage, from Nalguidan's perspective, can only be bought +1/+1. So it wouldn't be able to answer most of this board, except for, of course, the playmaker spawned rush minions. Oh, but he picks it up. It has conditioning in hand. Oh, that's insane. That's an easy full clear. He wanted to be able to play conditioning this turn anyway.
I think he's trying to evaluate if there's any other play available, like in Overlord Sarfong, because he does deal 1 damage and will end up cleaning up the Crab Rider and the weak Dark Moon Rider. But yes, I mean, this was a big setup from Nalguidan to try and seize the tempo of the matchup. And now Rami, with that draw of the Blademaster Samuro, does exactly what we described. What is he considering besides that right now?
It doesn't like fully clear the board, so maybe he's trying to. I don't know. Like there's no other play.
Oh, I guess it doesn't because it does 3 to everything, so the weapon swing. Oh, Nalguidan headbangs the chair.
Like, so from Nalguidan's perspective, like that's such an unlikely scenario to happen. Conditioning would have come out by that point because it would have allowed Rami to make cleaner trades. And so he had to read that conditioning wasn't there. And if Blademaster Samuro was there, then it would have only been 2 attack because the only buff would have been Overlord Runthak. So that has to be extra frustrating for Nalguidan, because what it means is Rami needed those cards to be the exact last 2 draws based on the reads that Nalguidan should have had at that point, and that's exactly what it was. And yeah.
Rami's so happy to see no Troublemaker the moment the Sword Eater started coming out. A little bit of clapping, recognizing that while his hand after that Samuro's a little bit awkward, he's got a much higher quality hand. He's got a Playmaker and the Stone Maul Anchorman, as well as Mancrick. These are like kind of options that you can mix and match here. Not really eyeing the Nitro Boost Poison either at this moment. I like the Anchorman because it is putting more frenzies into the pool for Overlord Starfang to help jump really far ahead of resources. And because no player is super far ahead of the life total race, it does feel like resources are going to be the difference maker here.
Yeah, Nalguidan's got a ton less and doesn't even have a life lead. Usually at this point, if you're behind in resources, you want to at least have a life lead. Bare minimum. Okay.
Nalguidan needs something big. Find Sword Eater. Sword Eater not particularly strong here, and so gotta think about if Overlord Starfang needs to come down soon. Could also just
so
play
lackluster.
Sword Eater. Yeah. The Rokara. And Rami's just seeing turn after turn of weakness. He picks up Alex Straza. EJ, I think we're going to have ourselves a tied series pretty soon. Troublemaker comes down. Nalguidan already feeling like he's defeated. It's really hard to come back from this spot. Mean Stone Maul Anchorman draws a card.
Yeah. But it is almost impossible to get out of this situation. Even if Rami's hand was empty, right, it'd still be very difficult to get out of this situation because he can't even answer the Troublemaker. I don't even know what draw off the top would have helped Nalguidan. I don't even know if he could pick the next draw, what he would have picked in that situation. Has to use this just to clear off the 6 damage.
Yep, and that's going to do it. Alex Straza in the hand. Rami's going to tie up the series 1 game apiece and get his Rush Warrior over the line. And all of a sudden, the best of 5 is now turned into a best of 3. 2 games is what separates both of these young, fine gentlemen between seasonal championship and yet another devastating disappointment. But I mean, that's the nature of competition, TJ. Only one of these guys can win and get a spot in Worlds.
Yeah, I did feel like Nalguidan for a moment there had turned the corner. It seemed like he had that big lead, but just the nature of Blademaster Samuro, right? You can feel like you're so far ahead, and that single card comes down. If it's buffed, I mean, unless you have massive conditioning buffs on the board, you're not getting past that. So, all tied up. Both players have wins with different decks, though, which we'll see if that makes a difference. Nalguidan still has his Rush Warrior on the table, which does seem like it's been the best performing deck overall. So maybe a slight edge. But obviously, both of these players throughout the past couple of days have shown some of the most insane mage games and mage openings we've ever seen. I mean, Rami in the first series had a game where he couldn't even decide what to do because he had double Incanterspell and Deck of Lunacy in his opening hand. Like, that was his decision of, all right, which unfair way do I want to play this game at this time around? So Rami is going to move over to Spell Mage. I imagine we're just going to still see Nalguidan stick to this Rush Warrior, which I would agree with in that situation. Save that Miracle Rogue for last, and we'll see if Rami can do it again. Draw that insane opening, or maybe he used up all of his Encounters Flow plus Deck of Lunacy luck in that last game, that last series rather.
Yeah, you're telling me. Rami's Spell Mage, Deck of Lunacy, I mean, we've talked about it a ton. And if you haven't seen it in action, I would suggest watching Nalguidan's games. I mean, there's not really too much more that needs to be said about what the deck's possibilities are. Finding outs in tough corners, being able to play to your outs. The deck really challenges a lot of those things. But also sometimes make it not so challenging, depending on how your opening hand looks. Question does become, if there's a specific matchup that we're heading towards, but going into it, we knew that this would be a mirror lineup because these two practice together and submit lineups very similar to each other. Almost 120 cards, the same, with just a few minor differences. Let's find out if the Rush Warrior and the Mage, with the roles reversed, will have a potentially different outcome. Opening mulligans, no Encounters Flow for Rami. No Imprison Gennard for Nalguidan. Full mulligan immediately from Nalguidan.
Rami probably as well. There is some, obviously an argument to keep the Font of Power, but when you're on coin, I think you're just looking for the Deck of Lunacy and Encounters Flow. Doesn't hit it. Still some opportunities though. Doesn't hit it again. All right.
Still time to draw it.
Nalguidan has that kind of hand where it's like, all right, just swing with weapons every turn, hopefully, and end the game on 9 with Alex Straza. It's not the best hand. Obviously, Imprison Gennard is great. Sword Eater is reasonable. Just because, you want to try and be aggressive and end the game as quick as possible. But you don't want Alex Straza to be in hand. Playmaker, usually you're just going to play it on 3 to spend mana.
Pouring himself an additional drink. Gotta love it. It's a chill tavern experience, no doubt. When at the pinnacle of your esport, a player in Game 3 of the Grand Finals that they spent months building up and grinding towards, and they can take 30 seconds to pour themselves some water in the middle of the game.
Ah, yes.
Ah, yes, Hearthstone.
Hearthstone at its finest.
I mean, it's worth it, right? We talked about how, I mean, it's a Rush Warrior, but doesn't mean you should rush every play.
Yep.
And now Nalguidan takes his time, sets with the play.
So wise, Dan.
Thank you.
Just so wise. Oh, okay. Deck of Lunacy. Honestly surprised it wasn't just coined out, but I guess he just wants to deal with these minions and then play Deck of Lunacy next turn. I'm almost 100% sure that it will be played. Because Rami just really doesn't have anything else going for him at the moment.
10. 10 is a magic number I'm counting, TJ, because with 2 sword, or rather the 2 3-damage weapons, swinging twice, it's 12. Alex Straza is 8, so that's 20. Ice Barrier could end up throwing a wrench into things, obviously.
Well played.
Ooh. Okay.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, wait.
Deck of Lunacy on 4. And if there's one player that can, game recognizes game,
yeah, it's Nalguidan. He's like, what is this, amateur hour? You think you're cool because you can play Deck of Lunacy on 4? I've been doing it for years.
Before you were born.
For years. Yeah.
Which was probably 1994, but we can't say for sure. Soul Mirror.
Actually, not that good.
Is it though? I mean, it's not that bad actually, because what you could do is flurry right afterwards.
Okay.
I wonder.
Yeah, I guess it's reasonable. Oh no, because he gets the Ricard too. No, it's sick.
Yeah, you get the
because
buff.
the minions that are living and surviving. No, yeah, Soulmere is actually really good. Sorry, because the Ricard is going to die. I thought that the minions wouldn't be buffed, and they would just be able to be cleaned up pretty easily by the Crab Rider from Nalguidan. But they are going to get buffed, so the Sword Eater would actually. Wait, what?
Nexus Blast? Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe he feels like he needs Soul Mirror for like one of these bigger boards, but honestly, you know, to be fair, we can see that there's an Alexstrasza in hand. So like we know that Nalguidan just needs a little bit more minion damage, right, to kind of get there. Rami does not.
It's true. It's true. I mean, Rami is going
Looking flurry.
And he's got single target removal. The Malevolent Strike. And also, Soul Mirror still is pretty strong, even after, right? If you're anticipating the Dark Moon Rider type setups, oh wow. Actually, Nalguidan has a Dr. Krasnov option off his athletic studies right now. I was thinking Stonemaul Anchorman because it just synergizes so well with Overlord Sarfog. But the Krasnov gives him the damage, well...
It does. I mean, it's 5.
Give him the damage.
It's 5 extra damage. But yeah, the turn 7 with Stonemaul Anchorman, that's tough. I kind of want the damage. Then he needs like 1 minion to connect, and that's enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Consider this a house.
Yeah, this is 1 minion connecting, and he's got lethal on 9 with Alexstrasza. Outside of any craziness with Rami getting Ice Barrier, which is actually not craziness, right? He's got the Ring Toss already in hand, so.
Yeah, that was a Ring Toss. That's post Deck of Lunacy. That's a Refreshing Spring Water post Deck of Lunacy. That's a sprint, which he now has the ability to.
It's all card draw.
What is he getting right now? This is just too much card draw. He needs to eventually do something. This isn't a Mechathune deck. I think. At this point, I don't know what to expect from Spell Mage. Maybe they whip out a card from Wild and say, I win. Fighting class.
Nalguidan had known what this turn was going to entail. Well, okay.
It's so ugly. Rami holding pairs. The way his hand's looking as if he's going for a big battleground swing turn, trying to triple up, but he doesn't get anything for that. Nalguidan Athletic Studies finds some pretty solid stuff across the board, but nothing super actionable right now. Because there's no minions to rush into with, say, the Overlord Runthok. No rallying cry. Oh, actually, the Mirror Entity. I forgot about the secret possibility here.
Yep.
There's a rallying cry. What I really like, too, about how slow Nalguidan's approaching this is that it throws off the scent. Pace of your play could also feed false information to your opponent, right? Like how slow, and he's like roping it down. Rami's like focused so much more on the board. He's like, wait, you're trading this into it? That's because we know Nalguidan wants to get damage in. The Ice Barrier, the reveal of the Ice Barrier does throw a wrench in the plans, because if Nalguidan had gotten Rami down to the 8, that would have been the perfect number for Alexstrasza. More card draw!
It's just all card draw, though. Card draw and survival of the fittest. And Soul Mirrors. This is not a good Deck of Lunacy hand. He's got 10 cards left, and I mean, he could find all 10 of them. So I think you nourish for crystals to open up some hand space here. Or not.
My hand is too full.
Rancor, Celestial Alignment, Overgrowth.
Ramp!
I thought he was gonna nourish for crystals and then play Sprint. He would have gotten 1 extra card, and it would have costed 1 less mana.
Rancor is actually low-key kind of good here, because then you could Hero Power and Rancor. Also, I'm looking forward to seeing if Rami could do something really wacky, like Soul Mirror, and then Potion of Illusion, then do some Survival to Fittest shenanigans. There's some interesting stuff happening here in Rami's hand. So as much as we're like kind of talking about how a lot of nothing it does, all it takes is for 1 big turn of minion generation And Rami will have a board that can't be answered. Nalguidan picks up Stage Dive. She's clearly so excited about.
Yeah,
Loves it.
in
Best
order to
draw of the
corrupt
day.
it, he has to play Sour Fang, which he has not played a Frenzy minion this game. So Sour Fang just seems incredibly unappealing. It is a 6/5.
Job done.
Nice 7-drop, man. Is that a legendary card?
Does that survive?
Can't tell.
Scrap shot. I mean, if Rami just has nothing in the bottom 6, there's one more 10-cost spell, right? Because he has a Mask of Thune on the far left, Survival of the Fittest. If it's a Grand Slam, boom. Rami is ahead because he's going to find that card.
DJ,
Yes.
just you're spot on. Is this a celestial alignment opportunity at all for Rami? Just wanted to ask that question because if he does end up finding burn, let's say if well, it's unfortunate because he has the sprints already, but a lot of times what you could end up doing is setting up big burst combinations with the spells like Mask of Thune and Fireball. He's already committed to the mask anyway, so he just started working. He says, I'm not going to handle that. But I was wondering, right? Limiting the plays of Nalguidan is also interesting.
Yeah.
Part of what makes the Rush Warrior strong is if they can string cards together. That being said, Nalguidan only has 2 cards in, so I don't think it's that great. Wow, dumping cards as well. They can draw with Sprint.
All right, it's all going to be about... Oh, it's Survival of the Fittest again! Guardian Animal's dead! Idol of Yashiraj dead! Refreshing Springwater dead! Honestly, Nalguidan doesn't know it, but he could armor up pass for the rest of this game and win. In fact, Nalguidan doesn't know it, so he's not going to play around it because it's Deck of Lunacy. The correct play for Nalguidan, with us having perfect information, is to just Hero Power pass forever.
Time runs out on me.
I can't imagine the last card is enough. But again, Nalguidan doesn't have perfect information. All this stuff could be the biggest minion generators you've ever seen.
He doesn't dump. He doesn't dump the Potion of Illusion. He's at 10 cards, I believe. 1, 2, 3,
So,
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's hoping Nalguidan plays a minion, and he is.
Now,
Please play a minion. He.
what? Why is he sad?
I'm out of cards.
That's like the only way Rami can win.
Because I think he wanted the torrent, maybe. It could be that he's a little bit ahead of us. Now Soul Mirror gives him minions. He can
No, he had...
Potion of Illusion. Potion of Illusion, Hero Power, I guess.
I think he's supposed to Hero Power his own bumper car. Oh no, he doesn't have hand space.
Right, because you can't get all the Moonriders back. Yeah, Potion of Illusion, and then rush this other one in, or put the other one on the board. And then Celestial Alignment, because then he could go for a double Survival of the Fittest turn. Okay, TJ, I'm convinced that Celestial Alignment here is actually super sick, because he can set up in 2 turns to do Survival of the Fittest. He doesn't actually have much time left because fatigue is going to start racking up quick. Why can't he?
He can't go for Celestial Alignment because he would, if it gets cleared, he would only be able to play 1 Dark Moon Rider. And he's putting 2 Dark Moon Riders back into the hand. So if he plays both bumper cars and they just get cleared off the board and he had played Celestial Alignment, he has to spend his entire turn playing a 1/1. Because he knows that he's putting in Dark Moon Riders, so like one of the bumper cars is answered.
Okay, so then he's just going to have to do it now here with Survival and hope that's enough. Now, I think, caught the scent of saying, like, your hand is just full of awkward stuff with Survival of the Fittest. So he knows, I think he knows that 2 of them are in the hand. He finds them, they're conditioning.
Yeah, he knows that the last one is survival of the fittest because the Grand Slam would have been played. So
Yes.
and he saw a mask, so he should guess that survival of the fittest is that second one. And if that's the case, then is
Wipe
the
the
play
board,
to
right?
just conditioning? No, just conditioning right now and then hold. So then Rami will play the second survival of the fittest. He'll push 10, then play the second survival of the fittest. Or well, he'd push.
But there's
18.
Fireball as well, so that
Yeah, he might. Yeah, I think he has to.
I think you have.
How
to
big is the Blade Master? Oh, it's a 7/12.
Yeah.
Rami would have to play the 1/1s and then trade.
Yes, exactly. That's the big point of it.
Yeah. No, so no, you do it now, and then he has Playmaker, Dark Moon Rider to follow up the next turn
My blade seeks
to clear like the next wave.
Oh, you can see the disappointment on Rami's face.
Yeah, and he's starting to take fatigue. This is 2 fatigue now, so he has 3 more turns. He has 3, 4, 5 that he's going to take. And if he leaves any minion on board, that accelerates that by at least a turn. I mean, he has to kill the Blade Master Samuro now, or else he loses. So this may have to be like Fireball Ping.
And then nothing.
He knows there's a Dark Moon Rider in hand, so he can't play one of the Dark Moon Riders that's in his hand. And now Nalguidan can just pass. He can armor up pass and then just react to what Rami's going to do because Nalguidan should have this solved.
Oh my goodness, Imprison Gennard, which lets you set something up for the fatigue finish.
Yep.
2 damage for Rami, 3, 4.
I don't think Rami can get there, even if these minions stick.
Here for a good
Right? It's 2
time.
5/5s and he has 2 turns left.
For a good time.
He's just out of time. Rami concedes.
You win.
Nalguidan on championship point. 1 game away from being able to take the seasonal crown and advance to the World Championships later this year. It's a goal of his for such a long time, ever since he's fully focused on Hearthstone. When we first met Nalguidan, he's a player that was splitting his time between school and a bunch of activities. I believe he was studying architecture as a major. Clearly a very intelligent individual. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, when Hearthstone Grandmasters really started demanding more of his time and attention, he had taken a break from it to try and double down and focus on Hearthstone. Now we're getting to the point where Nalguidan can almost taste it. So close, TJ. 1 more game is all that separates between him and Hearthstone Immortality. Got to do it with Rogue.
Yep.
And it's a deck that's just so versatile and powerful. But in terms of the stats, it's also been one of Nalguidan's least proven decks. He's actually done a lot more with the other decks than he has with Rogue so far. We have a small sample size from him. But that being said, Rogue has some great matchup spreads from the field, if you just look at all of Grandmasters. So if you're talking about a deck that can really carry you there, I mean, look no further than what happened in Europe. Miracle Rogue being the last deck for Frenetic that he used to close out the championship.
Yeah, Miracle Rogue's one of those decks that can beat just about anything and has many paths to victories, whether it be just like early game tempo, whether it be early game tempo to Kazakis into big golems that are too much pressure for your opponent, or playing it slow, getting the Octobot discounts, setting up these big combos with Alexstrasza 10 wound Wicked Stabs. And there's 2 reasonable matchups left for Nalguidan. Honestly, that goes the other way for Rami. He's just a game behind. He has Spell Mage and his own Miracle Rogue. So, you know, like if you consider you have like 2 kind of 50% matchups, one of them being a mirror matchup, and you have to win them both in a row. Rami is at a disadvantage here, but obviously it's just 1 series. And you break things down, again, like I said before the previous game, take a breather, take it 1 game at a time, and then it's manageable. So, even though Nalguidan's close, it's still anybody's game.
Anybody's game indeed. Nalguidan just has to get 30 more damage strong consistently, I suppose, because there is some armor gain from the mage. And it's all that separates him from being able to win here. Now Rami, I mean, Mage, in my book, if I'm on the ropes, if there's one deck I want to put my faith in, I want Mage to make it easy for me. I want Mage to just give me the Encounters flow. He holds Deck of Lunacy. Rami believes. Deck of Lunacy was not very kind to him in the previous game, giving him non-stop card draw and repeated removal of the same kind. He's going to hold on to it to try to see if he can hold off the Rogue.
Job's done.
It's going to be kind to him this game. I can feel it.
Okay. It's true.
You put a lot of faith in it.
Yeah, Deck of Lunacy really whiffs the way we saw it do. It can. It's just not very common, especially when you play it early. And just to see the amount of unfortunate chains, I mean, it does show you why some players wait to have the Encounters flow, right? Because it feels like there wasn't a lot of actionable stuff for Rami to do, especially when you get double survival of the fittest. No Encounters flow, sigh of relief from Nalguidan. In almost poetic fashion, it just feels like not only does Nalguidan find a way to win, it just seems like his Spell Mage opponents just don't have the powerful starts to really stop him at the moment. Here we go, one more time.
Yep, one more time. Oh, jeez. Nalguidan's like, I would much prefer to be on the other end of that Deck of Lunacy. That's Nalguidan's comfort zone. This, not so much.
Looking for a 5-drop. Stealth is really good against Mage.
I'm going to copy. I imagine that's what was chosen.
Maximum statistics.
Dark Portal, useless. Holy Nova, reasonable.
Holy Nova's not too bad against Rogue in particular because Rogue plays a lot of things at 2 health. Oh, how does he do it?
Now, look at Nalguidan's face. He is like wired right now. He is zoned in. And honestly, like, it's been a while since I've seen like Nalguidan pop off super hard. He's had some rough seasons. Mask of Cthulhu.
Oh my goodness. TJ.
Doesn't answer this board enough. It doesn't answer this board enough. Okay.
All right. Well, that was a lot of power reduced. That was 6 damage taken off, or 5 rather, because the Basilisk still has 1/1.
Yeah.
I feel like if I'm Rami, I wouldn't even hate the Mask of Cthulhu right here to soften things up. Maybe Holy Nova can get there. Nalguidan praying, hoping that this board can survive. He saw the devolving missile.
Party up! Time to party up!
A little bit of everything. Paladin starting.
How much damage? How much damage?
Barov on 6. Huge draw here from Nalguidan.
Wait, no.
Oh, he's got, wait.
That's enough.
Damage. The 2 wicked stabs.
Well played.
After endless days, weeks, months, years of grinding, the results have finally showed up. The hard work has paid off, and victory tastes sweet. He came into the inaugural Grandmasters season as one of the best players that the open system has produced. He has doubled down to focus on Hearthstone, and it has all came to fruition. Congratulations, Nalguidan. You are the Hearthstone Grandmasters America's season champion. What a surprising finish, a turn 5 kill. I was not expecting that. Actually, it was a turn 6 kill, TJ. I mean, Mage just had nothing. The Ogre coming down on 5, it was so quick. I was so stunned because I was drawn to the top deck. But look at the damage being put out. And that was more than enough And look at the sportsmanship from Rami, a toast. Nalguidan couldn't even really believe it, the emotion coming over him.